Mayong gabi ka natutanan. So ako di ay si Robin, hindi ko kaila naman na ako, di ba? And today, mag-discuss ko about history of agrarian reforms in the Philippines. So there are agrarian reforms in the different eras of the Philippines. The first one is the pre-colonial times. So before 16th century. Ibutang naman. Asa naman to? Ito sa Gaya. So first is the pre-colonial times, so before 16th century. So, yes. Hindi ko pakita. Umayhaw, magkamali. So land was commonly owned by the community known as the barangay. So this is a small unit of government consisting of 30 to 100 families administered by the chiefs or the dato. So everyone in the barangay, regardless of status, had access to the land and mutually shares resources and the fruits of their labor. So they believed and practiced the concept of stewardship, where relationship between man and nature is important. So land was commonly owned by the community known as barangay. So kahibaw naman taon sa ng barangay, di ba? Kanang atong silbi sa lungsod na ay pila ka barangay. So this is a small unit of government consisting of 30 to 100 families. Nagi pamunuan sa mga dato or sa chief. And then, so everyone in the barangay, regardless sa ilang status sa kinabuhi, sa ilang pamumuhay, so they mutually share resources.
Yeah.
So next, land cultivation was done commonly by kaingin system or the slash and burn method, wherein land was cleared by burning the bushes before planting the crops, or either land was plowed and harrowed before planting. So ang land cultivation was done through nasay system na gigamit, which is the kaingin system or the slash and burn method. So ang plowed or harrowed kay kanang bitong imong i-prepare ang yuta para tamnan, like for example magkanang kaog mani magkanang imong daruhon siya before nimo siya tamnan. So next, there's the Marantas Code, seems to be the only recorded transactions of land sale during this time. So this tells us about the selling of the Panay Island by the natives to the 10 Bernian datos in exchange of a golden salakot and a long gold necklace. So na-discuss naman ni Mr. about sa katong Marantas Code, diba? So ang Marantas Code mo na one of the earliest known land transactions in the Philippines. So mga kuno na kinaunhan na known as land transaction in the Philippines. So it tells a story about how the native of Panay Island sold their land sa 10 Bernian datos. So in exchange sa kaning golden salakot o long gold necklace. So next, which is the Spanish era, 1521 to 1896. So, the colonial government at this period introduced a Pueblo agriculture, a system wherein native rural communities were organized into Pueblo, and each Christianized native family is given 4 to 5 hectares of land to cultivate. The Pueblo agriculture practiced no share shopper class or landless class. So during the Spanish period, the government introduced the Pueblo agriculture. So in this system, rural communities were grouped into towns. So each Christianized native family received 4 to 5 hectares of land to farm. So there was no landless class or shared cropping system. Every family had land to cultivate. So hatagan sila 4 to 5 na hectares ang each Christianized native family. So, yeah. The native families were merely landholders and not landowners. By law, the land assigned to them was the property of the Spanish king, where they pay their colonial tributes to the Spanish authorities in the form of agricultural products they produce. So native families were only landholders, not true owners. So ang mga native families kuno kay nagunit ra sila ana nga yuta pero dili sila maoy owner or dili sila maoy nagpuya ana nga yuta or murag sila moy nakipuyo ra ana nga yuta. So by law, the land assigned to them was property of the Spanish king. So the natives had to pay tributes or taxes to the Spanish authorities, usually in the form of agricultural products they produce. Like sa ilang pamagi sa ilang pag-pay sa taxes kay sa bunga ng or sa abot nila sa ilahang ipang tanong. So through the laws of the Indies, the Spanish crown awarded vast tracts of land to it. So there are 3. So the first one is a friar lands for the religious order. So friar lands kay given to religious order. The second is repartimientos for lands granted to the Spanish military as a reward for your service. So ang repartimientos kay land given to Spanish soldier or Spanish military as a reward sa ilahang serbisyo. So the third one is encomienda, for a large tract of land given to Spaniards, or which is the encomiendero, to manage and have the right to receive tributes from the natives stealing it. Natives within their areas, these areas became mere tillers working for a share of crops. Yes, they did not even have any right to the land. Natives within these areas became mere tillers working for a share of crops. They did not even have any right to the land. So, parehas sa Pilipinas sa una, like, kita mao'y nagkakiya sa yuta and then katong isakop ta sa Spanish or sa Spaniards nga need pa na to silang bayaran sa tax. Mga tax, like, aga itong way sa pagbayad kay katong mga tinanong nato isang ilang bunga nakabot na to sa mga tinanong nato way aron makabayad ta sa yuta. Wala tayo karapatan sa atong yuta kay we have to share our crops sa mga Spanish. Una, sabot mo? Is the abuse of encomienderos collected. Next is the abuse of encomienderos collected more tributes to regain the land rentals from the natives living in the area. A comparas ibandala system was practiced where the tillers or the farmers were made to compulsory sell at a very low price or surrender their agricultural harvest to Spanish authorities where encomienderos can resell it for a profit. People of the encomiendas were also required to render personal services on public and religious work and as a household help to the encomienderos. So, ang abused encomienderos kay ilang gi-force ang mga native people to pay high taxes and rents. So, ilahang gi-force sa mga abusive encomienderos sa mga native people to to what? To pay high taxes. Dako, taas. Yes. Also made farmers sell crops at a very low. So, gamay
Ang presyo.
gamay ang presyo. Pradong 20 kilos na na bugas yung di ko ani sa na BBM Marcos
Imbis ka ng
imbis kay sus panghatag sa mga nakuanan sa linog baligyan ano 20 kilos na bugas so na lang isod kayo ang maging farmer tay di ba? Next, the Spanish crown made a law in 1865, tanong nga na 1865 ni ma'am, ordering landholders to register their land holdings. Only those who were aware of this decrease benefited. Ancestral lands were claimed and registered in other people's name. The Spanish official are inquilinos and caciques or local chieftains. So as a result, many peasant families were driven out from the land they have been cultivating for centuries or were forced to become settlers or farmers. So pagka 1865, the Spanish government required landowners in the Philippines to officially register the land. So agad turang kahibawaan nga decree maoy maka-benefit. So only those who know about this land or law di ay could benefit it. So many ancestral lands of Filipinos were taken and registered under the name of the Spanish officials or inquilinos and the local chieftains or the caciques or institution. So because of this, many poor farmers lost their lands which they had cultivated for generations. So daghan kunong farmers ang nawadan yuta which they had cultivated for generations and were forced to work as laborers instead of owners. So na-force sila magtrabaho as labor instead sa sila mooy tag-iya na nga yuta. So next, in 1893, the lay hypothecaria or mortgage law was introduced that provides the systematic registration of titles and debts as well as ownership claims. This law was mainly a law on registration of properties rather than a mortgage law. So sa mga mortgage,
kakaiba.
sa mortgage guys, ang mortgage kay loan or sangla or pautang na. So pag 1893 po no, na law nga na-introduce which is the lay hypothecaria or the mortgage law. So, ang galing mortgage law nag-require sila of proper registration of land titles and ownership. Kasagot mo, masabtan na, nag-require sila proper registration land titles and ownership. Although called a mortgage law. So it was really more about making sure that that property were officially recorded. So naka-record dito, kitahin na nga yung dili lang kay gikan sa loan, about loan or mortgage. Dapat record dito. In 1894, the last Spanish land law promulgated in the Philippines was the Maura Law or Royal Decree of 1894. So this law states that farmers and landholders were given 1 year to register their agricultural lands to avoid declaration of it as a state property. So, ang mga farmers o landowners, kaya na sila 1 year to register their agricultural land. So, niyataga na sila 1 year, sa ka-year, aron nilang i-register ilahang yuta. So, aron ma-avoid nila ang declaration, aron ma-avoid nila nga i-declare sa government yuta as a state of property. Mao na ang Marlborough Royal Decree of 1894. So next is the Revolution of Peasants and Farmers in 1896 articulated their aspirations for agrarian reform and for a just society. Women also fought for freedom and played an important role in the planning and implementing the activities of the revolutionary movements. So, ang pag 1896 na siya'y law gihapon, not law, but the revolutionary government, Malolos Constitution, Article number 14. It is confiscated large estates. So, sa naman tong friar lands. So, the revolution of peasant. Ano sa man ang peasant? Peasant and farmers. Kung na siya, na may ini idea na makakuan sa ng peasant. So, ang peasants is the laborers or kanang nagtrabaho. Basta ako nagtrabaho na siya sa ito. Nagpura ng mga farmers, but they're not the landowners. Only the land holdings. Next is the revolutionary government confiscated the large landed estates, especially the friar lands. So they have friar lands and declared this as properties of the government. Malolos Constitution, 86 Article 14. So
That's not 14.
What's this?
17.
17. Sorry, my bad. So, Malolos Constitution, 1896, Article 17. Sorry guys, my bad. So, ang sud ani niya kay revolutionary government sees friar lands as state property. So, yeah. It declared them as a government property. Ang friar land. Sa Malolos Constitution 1896 Article 17. Next, proceed to the next era, which is the American era in 1898 to 1935. So first, this one. So realizing that being landless was the main cause of social unrest and revolt at that time, the Americans sought to put an end to the miserable conditions of the tenant, tellers, and small farmers by passing several land policies to widen the base of small landholdings and distribute land ownership among the greater number of Filipino tenants and farmers. So during the American period, the U.S. government saw that the landlessness was causing unrest and revolt. So, masulbad ni na problema ha. They passed land laws to improve the lives of the farmers. So, Langi pass. So, their goal was to give more land to small farmers and tenants. So, kaning tenants di ay guys, so naman to guys,
Like peasant.
kay a person who rents the land. Kanang nag-rent ka ng ilang gibig. No. So, ang tenant, guys, my bad. I'm so sorry. Kapo ko na label ko. So, ang tenant kay a person who rents the land. So, siya ang person, tahay ako ang niabangan na ngayon ta. Wala siya tenants. So, land ownership would be shared more fairly. Alam ko, no? Ang land kay mabahin fair. Mabahin fairly. Kasi Bisayag fair, guys.
Pantay.
Pantay-pantay. Pantay-pantay ang pagbahid ng Amerika. Next, so sa to nga era, guys. The American era.
So now,
Next is, dili pa ni siya, like, one of the era, ha. Part pa rin siya sa American era. So, the Philippine Bill of 1902. Naka-remember mo, ani, Char? Wala po ko kahibaw sa siya. So, ato ni siyang kisiton. So, the Philippine Bill of 1902, these laws provided regulations on the disposal of public lands wherein a private individual can own 16 hectares. Sila ilahang ma-own or ilahang no, it's not madawat. Ilahang individual can own 16 hectares. So, pila ilang madawat? Kasi madawat, oh my God, madawat. Ilang mangkon, guys? Pila ka hectares? 16 hectares of land, while the corporate land holdings can avail of 1,024 hectares. This also gives the rights to the Americans to own agricultural lands. So, ang kanina law, I know it's not the law, it's a bill, Philippine Bill of 1902, a private individual can own pila ka hectares? 16 hectares. And then ang corporation could own up to 1,024 hectares. It allowed also to Americans to own agricultural lands in the Philippines. Nakasabot, nasabtan na ang Philippine Bill 1902?
yes.
Ikatugon ako.
Yes.
Next.
Eh.
So next, some 400,000 native farmers were without titles at the start of the American era. This situation can also be aggravated by the absence of records of issued titles and accurate land surveys. To remedy the situation, the Torrens system was then introduced to replace the registration system implemented by the Spaniards. So, at the start of the American era, about 400,000 Filipinos farmers did not have the legal land titles. So, the problem was made worse because many records and land surveys were missing or inaccurate. So, aron masulbad to, the American introduced the Torrens system, a new land registration method to replace the old Spanish system. So, sa man to nga land registration ang gi-alid-an into Torrens system. So, they mortgage law. Under na siya sa Spanish era. So, unsa to yung pasabot sa mortgage law? Dapat ang na-register at nga property, it requires a proper registration of land titles and ownership. Auto code mortgage law. So, dapat imo siyang i-register para dili siya dili siya ma-own sa state of the property sa government. Yeah.
Motong gialistan sa
Motong gialistan sa what system? Torrens system. So, dahil naman po ni era, dahil na po na sistema. Okay. The Land Registration Act of 1902, or Act Number 496, placed all private and public lands under the Torrens system. So, ang kaning Land Registration Act of 1902, or Act Number 496, gi-required na all lands, ma-public man o ma-private, is ma-under siya sa Torrens system. So, dapat imo i-register siya under the Torrens system. So, next is the Cadastral Act or Act Number 2259, speaks of the issuance of Torrens title. So, ang kaning Cadastral Act ay made the registration process faster and then help speed up the issuance of the Torrens title aron paspas. Maglangay-langay. So, next is the Homestead program of 1903. So this program allowed an enterprising tenant to acquire a farm of at least 16 hectares to cultivate. However, the program was not implemented nationwide and was introduced only in some parts of Mindanao and northern Luzon where there were available public, alienable, and disposable land. So a housing program is allowed the tenants to acquire at least 16 hectares of land to cultivate. So ganito ng tenant, a person who rent intay ako ang nag-abangan na nga luta. At that allowed tenants to require at least 16 hectares of land to cultivate. So wait up, nara siya 16 hectares na trabahoon. So it also applied only in areas where available public land, such as Mindanao and also in northern Luzon, but not implemented nationwide. So next, the first legislation regulating the relationship of landlord and the tenants, and the first law to legalize a 50-50 crop sharing arrangement was also introduced in the American era and is known as the Rice Shared Tenancy Act of 1933 or Act number 4054. There is also the Sugarcane Tenancy Contracts Act of 1933 or Act number 4113, which related the relationship of landlord and the tenants in the sugarcane fields and required tenancy contracts on land planted to sugarcane. So ang kaning Rice Tenancy Act of 1933 or Act number 4054, the first law regulating the landlord-tenant relationship. So mo kung ikinamhan nga law nga nag-regulate ang landlord of tenant. So there are relationship between the landlord and the tenant. So the second is legalize a 50-50 crop sharing between the landowner and the tenant. So murag fair sila pagkabahin like 50-50 lang share. Kaning Sugarcane Tenancy Contracts Act of 1933 or Act number 4113 ay applied to sugarcane lands. Saan ang sugarcane?
Tubo.
So it also requires a written contracts between the landlords and the tenants. Yes, a written contract. Dapat subuhat na kontrata between the landlord and the tenant. This is continuous. Hindi ko rin siya part sa American era. So there were widespread peasant uprising headed by the armed peasant groups known as Kulurum and Sakdalista of Luzon and northeastern Mindanao respectively. This uprising resulted in social disorder in 1920s and 1930s. Hence, more militant peasant and workers' organizations banded together for a more collective actions against the abuses of landlords and unjust land ownership situation. This gave birth to the Communist Party of the Philippines. So, many poor farmers or peasants suffered from unfair land ownership and abusive landlords. So, daghan kuno ang nag-giabuso. So, daghan kuno ang nagsuffer sa unfair na land ownership o abusive landlords. Daghan ang nagsuffer. So, ang mga nagsuffer? Yung mga poor farmers. Daghan kuno ang nagsuffer ng mga poor farmers sa ilahang unfair na land ownership. A group like the Kulurum in Luzon and the Sakdalista in northeastern Mindanao led
So, Kulurum sa Luzon.
So, ang Kulurum sa Luzon, ang Sakdalista sa northeastern Mindanao. So, this uprising caused social unrest and disorder. So, because of this, the peasant or the farmers and workers formed stronger two united groups to fight for their rights sa ilahang katungod. So this movement eventually led to the creation of the Communist Party of the Philippines, so the CPP.
Sa tong CPP?
What is the CPP again? The Communist Party of the Philippines. So next is the Commonwealth years, it's 1935 to 1942. So, here's this one. So, oh my God. During these years, the situation of land ownership, the tenancy were characterized by contrasting economic and political lifestyle between the tenant and the landlord. So landlord became richer and powerful, while the tenants were deprived of their rights, became poorer and absentee. Landowners increased. They preferred to go after new opportunities in the cities and left their farm to the management of Katiwalas. So haciendas were poorly and unjustly managed. So land ownership showed a big gap between the landlords and the poor tenants. So landlord became wealthier and more powerful. Tenants lost their rights and grew poorer. And then the many landlords became absentee landlords.
Sige.
So during the Commonwealth years, land ownership showed a big gap between the rich landlords and the poor tenants or the poor farmers. So ang landlords became richer or became wealthier and more powerful, while the tenants or the farmers lost their rights and grew poorer. So kuan hapon sila nasa baba.
Ay, example karon kita.
Example kita karon na
Ang dato.
Ilabi na ka dun nasa mga taas or nasa government na kuan.
Minsan mo ito ka dato.
Tungod sa Nepo baby! Kita. Diyan kita nga nagpunitaw sa mga kalamidad yung dibuhat rice, murag wala sila action, labi na sa president, na ambut, asa sila dibutang word. Sunod, many landowners became absentee landlords. They moved to cities for better opportunities. So, they left their farms under katiwalas or the caretakers, who often managed the haciendas unfairly and poorly. The government, under the stewardship of President Quezon, realized that land reform program should be implemented immediately. They saw the purchase of prior land as a possible way to solve the problem of inequitable land ownership. So they also saw that the homestead program could be transformed into a massive resettlement program if properly implemented. So President Quezon's government saw that the urgent need for land reform. So they thought that buying prior lands could help this unfair land ownership. Kitahay kanilang sa ilang una nga if mupalit sila og land na owned by the Spanish or which is the prior lands kay makatabang para ma-reduce ang unfair land ownership. So they also believe that homestead program could be expanded into a large resettlement program if done properly. So they believe also nga ang homestead program could be expanded into a large resettlement if done properly. So the next era, which is the Japanese era, 1942 to 1945. So during this occupation, peasants and workers organized the Hukbalahap or the Hukbong Bayan Laban si mga Hapon on March 29, 1942 as an anti-Japanese group. They took over vast tracts of land and gave the land and harvest.
So there are the government initiatives on agrarian reform. First, Manuel L. Rojas. So Republic Act number 34 was enacted to establish 70 to 30% of sharing arrangement between tenant and landlord. The 70% of the harvest will go to the person who shoulder the expenses of planting, harvesting, and for the work animals. It reduced the interest of landowners' loan to tenants at not just more than 6%. So President Rojas negotiated for the purchase of 8,000 hectares of lands in Batangas owned by the Ayala Zubel family. These were sold to landless farmers. So the second is Elpidio Quirino, 1948 to 1953. Through Executive Order number 355, the Land Settlement Development Corporation, or the LASIDICO, was established to accelerate and expand the peasant resettlement program of the government. However, due to the limited post-war resources, the program was not successful. Next is Ramon Magsaysay, 1953 to 1957. President Magsaysay realized the importance of pursuing a more honest-to-goodness land reform program. He convinced the elite-controlled Congress to pass several legislation to improve the land reform situation in the country. Some of these are the RA number 1199, 1954, the Agricultural Tenancy Act. The second one is the Republic Act number 1160, 1954, or the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration, or the NARA. The third one is the Republic Act number 1400 for 1955, or the Land Reform Act, Land to the Landless. And the last one is Republic Act number 1266 1955, Expropriation of Hacienda del Rosario. Magsaysay implemented the Agricultural Tenancy Act by establishing the Court of Agricultural Relations in 1955 to improve tenancy security, fix the land rentals on tenanted farms, and to resolve the many land disputes filed by the landowners and peasants organizations. So under President Magsaysay, the Agricultural Credit and Cooperative Financing Administration, or the ACCFA, or the ACFA, was created. This is a government agency formed to provide warehouse facilities and assets farmers, market their products, and establish the Organization of the Farmers, Cooperatives, and Marketing Association, or the FACOMAS. Out of the targeted 300 haciendas for distribution, only 41 were distributed after its 7 years of implementation. This was due to the lack of funds and inadequate support services provided for these programs. Landlords continued to be uncooperative and critical to the program, and land ownership and tenancy problems continued. So next is Carlos P. Garcia, 1957 to 1961. There was no legislation passed in his term, but he continued to implement the land reform programs of President Magsaysay. So let's proceed to Diosdado Macapagal, 1961 to 1965.
Diosdado Macapagal, 1961 to 1965. So President Diosdado Macapagal was considered the father of the agrarian reform. So Diosdado ito ang father of agrarian reform, which is
Diosdado Macapagal.
So it was during his term that the Agricultural Land Reform Code, or RA number 3844, was enacted on August 8, 1963. This was considered to be the most comprehensive piece of agrarian reform legislation ever enacted in the country at that time. So Diosdado Macapagal, known as the father of agrarian reform. So based on the Agricultural Land Reform Code, or the RA number 3844, on August 8, 1963. This law was the most comprehensive agrarian reform at that time. Abolished share tenancy in the Philippines and prescribed a program converting the tenant farmers to lessees and eventually into owner cultivators. So it aimed to free tenants from the bondage of tenancy and gave hope to poor Filipino farmers to own the land they are telling. So meaning telling. So next, it emphasizes owner-cultivator relationship and farmer independence, equity, productivity, improvement, and the public distribution of land. So under our Public Act number 3844, which is the Agricultural Land Reform Code, 1963, it abolished share tenancy in the Philippines. It turned tenant farmers into lessees and later into owner-cultivators. So it aimed to free farmers from tenancy and give them a chance to own the land they work on. So it focused on the farmer independence, the fairness, the equity, the higher productivity, and the wider land distribution. So this act was piloted in the provinces of Pangasinan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Tarlac, Occidental Mindoro, Camarines Sur, and Misamis Oriental. It acquired a total of 18,247.06 hectares, or the 99.29% out of the total scope of 18,377.05 hectares. So there are 18,247.06 out of 18,377.05 hectares. So the program benefited the 7,466 farmer beneficiaries for the blood dar official records. So the implementation of the RA 3844, which is the Agricultural Land Reform Code 1963, the pilot tested in the provinces of Pangasinan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, and so on, so forth. And then it covered also 18,247.06 hectares.
So next is Ferdinand E. Marcos, 1965 to 1986. The Code of Agrarian Reforms, or RA number 6389, governed the implementation of the agrarian reform in the Philippines. Republic Act number 6390 was enacted to accelerate the implementation of the agrarian reform program in the fields of land acquisition and agricultural credit. So Presidential Decree number 27 became the heart of the Marcos reform. It provided that tenanted lands devoted to rice and corn to pass ownership to the tenants and lower the ceilings for land holdings to 7 hectares. The law stipulated that share tenants who work from a land holding of over 7 hectares could purchase the land they tilled, while share tenants on land less than 7 hectares would become leaseholders. This agrarian reform program was designed to uplift the farmers from poverty and ignorance and to make them useful, dignified, responsible, and progressive partners in nation building. This agrarian reform program was a package of services extended to farmers in the form of credit, support, infrastructure, farm extension, legal assistance, electrification, and development of rural institutions.
Major components of President Marcos' agrarian reform program. So there are land reform program, institutional development, physical development, agricultural development, and human resources. The first one is the land tenure program. So the land tenure program is a transfer of land ownership from landlords to tenant farmers, so they could own the land they tilled. So, we transfer, ang kaning program is i-transfer ang land ownership from gikan sa landlords ngadto sa tenant farmers aron na sila'y kaugalingon na yuta nga trabahon. So the second one is the institutional development. creation and strengthening of organization and agencies to implement agrarian reform effectively. And then the third one is the physical development, building infrastructure like roads, irrigation system, and post-harvest facilities to support the farming communities. The fourth one is the agricultural development, providing credit, technology, and support services to improve farm production. Okay, agricultural message na kasi about farming. And then the last one is the human resources, which is the training and educating farmers to make them more skilled and productive and self-reliant. Okay. So President Marcos' agrarian reform program was labeled as revolutionary by some sectors for two reasons. So there are two reasons na label siya as revolutionary. The first one is it was pursued under martial law and intended to make quick changes without going through legislative or technical process. So it was carried out during martial law, which allowed Marcos to implement it quickly without going through the usual long process of Congress or other legal procedures. And then second one, it was only law in the Philippines ever done in handwriting. So it was unique because it was the only law in the Philippines. History written entirely by hand by the President himself, showing its special importance. The scope of program was limited only to tenanted, privately owned rice and corn lands. Foreign and local firms were allowed to use large tracts of land for their business. Declaration of martial law leading to the arrest of several farmer leaders without due process of law due to suspension of the writ of habeas corpus. Kasi po ba sa writ? So, the program only covered privately owned rice and corn lands that had tenants. Other crops and types of land were not included, so many farmers were left out. So, ang kani siya kang inandikuan lang is ang rice and corn. So, ang other nga plant or other nga tanom is wala gi-include. So, daghan ng farmers na left out. So, the second is foreign. So, being foreign and local companies were still allowed to control large areas of land for their businesses, which went against the goal of giving land to the landless. Because of martial law, many farmers leaders were arrested without fair trial, since the writ of habeas corpus or the legal protection against unlawful detention, which ay writ of habeas corpus. Masubutan na kay legal protection against unlawful detention was suspended. So the sunod kay si Corazon C. Aquino, 1986 to 1992. So various sectors recognize agrarian reform as a worthwhile social investment. In terms of the tenant-dweller status, this improved, particularly those within land owners' retained areas or on landholding subject for all coverage. So during President Aquino's time, agrarian reform was seen as a variable social investment. It aimed to improve the lives of farmers by changing their status from rare tenants or who just work the land to tellers with more rights and opportunities. This was especially true for farmers working on lands that were either retained by landowners or covered by agrarian reforms program. So in short, Aquino's program gave farmers better security and recognition as rightful tellers of the land. states that the government is responsible for promoting rural, 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 rural development and agrarian reform. This means the state must work to improve the lives of people in the countryside, especially farmers, by providing them with fair access to land and opportunities to grow and live better. So in spirit, the Constitution made agrarian reform a national duty to ensure fairness and progress in rural communities. Done. Constitution number 131 instituted the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or the CARP. So this officially started the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or the CARP, which aimed to distribute land farmers and improve rural development. The second one is the Executive Order number 129, recognized the development of agrarian reform, or the DAR. This order strengthened and recognized the development of agrarian reform so it could properly handle and implement the CARP, which is the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. So the third is Executive Order number 228, declared full ownership of the land to qualified farmer beneficiaries covered by Presidential Decree number 27. So this declared that the farmers who were covered under Presidential Decree number 27, Marcos Rice and Corn Land Reform Law, under any Presidential Decree, are now the full owners of the land they tilled. Executive Order number 229, this set the rules and procedures for how land would be distributed under CARP, including how payments to landowners and farmers would work. And then 5, the Republic Act number 6657, or the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. This became the main law that guided CARP, or the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. It expanded land reform to cover not only rice and corn lands but also other type of agricultural land. Executive Order number 405, Land Bank of the Philippines. Muli-muli di ba ang Land Bank of the Philippines? So, it was prior to the Land Bank of the Philippines, or the LBP, the responsibility of determining land value for agrarian reform. This means the LBP, or the Land Bank Philippines decide how much the government should pay landowners and how much farmers will pay for the land. And then the second one is the Executive Order number 406, or the CARP, the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform of the Philippines Program. So directed government agencies to support the Comprehensive Agrarian Reforms of the Agrarian Reforms Program by guiding lands they own, like public lands, for distribution to qualified beneficiaries. Order number 407 required all government-owned lands suitable for agriculture to be identified and turned over to the Department of Agrarian Reform, or the DAR, for distribution to farmers. Then Executive Order number 408 set guidelines for distributing privately owned agricultural land under CARP to ensure fair and orderly land transfer to farmers. So this administration received much support and active involvement in program implementation from key stakeholders such as people organizations, farmers associations, NGOs, and from prominent landowners themselves. So these are rules issued by the Department of Agrarian Reforms, or the DAR, to implement and guide the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. So the first is the Department of Agrarian Reform Administrative Order number 2 in 1992 set the rules for land transfer from landowners to farmer beneficiaries under CARP. The second one is the Department of Agrarian Reform Administrative Order number 1, 1993, provided guidelines on leasehold operations to secure tenants' rights if land transfer was not yet possible. The third one is the Department of Agrarian Reform, Land Bank of the Philippines, Administrative Order Number 3, 1944, joint orders with the Land Bank of the Philippines on how to value land for payment to landowners and amortization by farmers. The fourth one is the Department of Agrarian Reforms, Administrative Order Number 1, 1995, focused on land acquisition and distribution, the LAD, procedures to speed up land transfer. The fifth one, the Department of Agrarian Reform, Administrative Order Number 2, 1995, strengthened rules on beneficiaries identification to ensure only qualified farmers received land. The DAR Number 2, 1996, classified rules as compulsory acquisition of land for CARP coverage. The 7, the DAR Administrative Order Number 2, 1997, set the order of priority in covering land and improved processes in distributing them. The number 8, DAR Number 8, 1998, provided guidelines for voluntary land transfer (VLT), where landowners could directly transfer land to farmers under DAR supervision. The last one, the DAR Administrative Order Number 7, 1993, dealt with support services for agrarian reform beneficiaries to help them become more productive. Si Joseph Ejercito Estrada, 1998 to 2001. The Magsasaka aims to encourage investors to bring investments into the countryside and to enhance the income of the farmers through joint venture schemes and contract growing schemes. The program also aims to enable the farmers to be more efficient and be globally competitive. So, the Magsasaka program was created to help farmers earn more by attracting investors to the countryside. It promoted joint ventures, like farmers partnering with investors, and contract growing schemes or farming producing crops for big companies. So, ang kaning joint venture schemes kay farmers nakipart-partner siya sa mga investors. Ang kaning contract growing schemes kay kadtong ang farmer may mo-produce of crops sa mga dagkong nga kumpanya. So the goal was to make farming more profitable, efficient, and globally competitive so farmers could improve their income and livelihood. So next, administration saw the urgency of land distribution and believed that it can be served if it is built on farmers' capacity to pursue their own development. So, Estrada's administration believed that agrarian reform should not only give land but also build farmers' ability to improve their own lives. That's why one of its first step was to revise performance targets Instead of just counting land area distributed, they also track the number of farmers, beneficiaries, the types of crops, and the farm system included. So one of the first things this administration did was to reward performance targets by focusing on the number of hectares of lands distributed coupled with an accounting of farmer beneficiaries and the specific croplands and farm system covered. So Estrada's approach was to combine. I know it's not. No, it's here. So now to integrate land distribution and support services. It was during this period that DAR, or the Department of Agrarian Reform, launched a series of land occupations by working with farmer claimants, the LGU, and government security forces. So Estrada's approach was to combine land distribution with support services so that farmers would not just receive a land but also to help they needed to use it productively. So during this time, the agrarian reform also worked with farmers, local governments, all the LGUs, and security forces to carry out land occupations, making sure that farmer claimants could actually take possession of the lands awarded to them. So in short, Tanistra's programs made sure farmers got both land and support, and the government actively helped them occupy and secure the land they are entitled to. Next, fiscal constraints encountered by this administration resulted to unpaid or delayed payment of landowners covered under the compulsory possession and VOS schemes, or voluntary offer to sell VOS. There were also issues on enter and intra ARBs, or the agrarian reform beneficiaries, conflicts due to arguments for control over negotiations with prospective joint venture partners, some of which become violent. So Estrada's administration forced budget problems which lead to unpaid or delayed payments to landowners whose land were taken under compulsory possession or the voluntary offer to sell, or the VOS. Then they were also conflict among agrarian reform beneficiaries. Some groups argued over who should control negotiation with investors or joint venture partners. So in some cases, these disputes each turned into violent or become violent. So let's move forward to basaha sabi.
Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2001 to 2010.
Okay, so the GMA administration has adopted the Bayan Anihan concept as the implementing framework for CARP. So Bayanihan means people, Anihan means harvest, and Bayanihan means working together. So to CARP, Bayanihan means, applied to CARP, Bayanihan means a united people who working together for the success implementation of agrarian reform. So sa to, Bayan means people, Anihan means harvest, and Bayanihan means working together. So Bayanihan means the farmers, government, and communities must work together like in Bayanihan to make agrarian reform successful. So, dira. Ibutang na namin. So the Bayanihan framework has different implanting strategies, namely the Salin Lupa. The Salin Lupa focused on land transfer to farmers, distributing land to agrarian reform beneficiaries. Then the Katarungan ensured justice and fairness in resolving land disputes between landowners and farmers. Third one is the Bayanihan, promoted cooperation among farmers, government, and communities to improve productivity. Kaupat, Konsehong Bayan para sa Anihan, Council for Harvest, a council or group created to oversee CARP implementation at the community level. The last one is the Kamalayan, focused on awareness and education to help farmers understand their rights, responsibilities, and opportunities under agrarian reform. So under Arroyo's administration, introduced the Kapit Bisid sa Kahirapan Agrarian Reform Zones, or the CARZONES. CARZONES as a program strategy of the DAR in CARP. So ito ng DAR? Department of Agrarian Reform. Kaning CARP? Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Implementation of the CARZONES is a partnership. CARZONES is a partnership and convergence strategy aimed at achieving assets reforms, poverty reduction, food self-sufficiency, farm productivity, good governance, social equity, and empowerment of agrarian reform beneficiaries, or the ARBs, both in ARCs and non-ARCs. So the car zones was a strategy used by the DAR to strengthen the CARP. It was based on partnership and cooperation between the government and the communities and the other groups. So in short, the kaning carzones, was about working together to fight poverty and improve farmer lives through land reform, food security, and farmer empowerment. Next. One.
Yes, wala. Makatog
The
na may.
last but not the least. Si Benigno Simeon Aquino. Noy, si Aquino. Basta ka
2010, 2016.
Yes. So under the government of President Aquino, the DAR, which is lead agency for CARP, implementation is bent on sustaining the gains of agrarian reform through its three major components: the land tenure improvement, the program beneficiaries development, and the agrarian justice delivery. So, ang una kay the land tenure improvement, making sure that the farmer legally own the land they work on. So they have security and can plan for the future. Masabtan, like, making sure farmers. Sunod, the program beneficiaries development, or the PBD, helping farmers improve their skills, earn better income, and develop their farms for a better quality of life. Sa tandanan, diba? Sa buto-bulo siya. The third and the last one, the Agrarian Justice Delivery, AGD, providing support and legal help to resolve disputes over land fairly. And that's all. Thank you.